So here you can see a close-up of the pineapple weed. Lindy is going to try her first pineapple weed head. What do you think? It's looking pretty good so far, but I want to have this thing full at the end of the day.
Yellow.
Yellow, we are back with more foraging shenanigans. Just leaving our local sporting goods store here quick. Got some fly fishing stuff. But today we are foraging. We're going to do something new today and try to harvest some pineapple weed. Something that, or a species that neither of us have foraged for before. But I have been watching it for probably 2 months now. The plants in one of my spots here. So I'm hoping that they're still there. I saw one of the spots got a bit mowed the other day, but there should be still plenty of there for us to take and bring home. Now, pineapple weed is not related to the pineapple, but it does smell like it. So this is a way to get some tropical fruit flavor in North America, which is pretty sweet.
Super sweet.
Even up here in Montana. I know it also grows in Europe. I think they believe it's native to the US and then kind of moved over to Europe, which is different from a lot of plants we've been talking about, because often the settlers from Europe brought them to the US. But someone might have to fact check me on that one. So we're going to go to our spot now and see if we can get a bunch. I am mostly interested in using it for tea extracts, like from making a tea with it. So we're going to try to dehydrate the pineapple weed, and we'll see how that goes, because we've never done that before either. But what I really want to do in the long term is use some of that tea that we make out of it and turn it into a lacto-fermented soda. Now, I'm not a big soda drinker at all. I actually think soda, like some of the big names out there that I'm not going to name, are really bad for you. And I think they're a big reason why people have, obesity issues, because they're just drinking like liquid sugar all day long.
It's best not to drink your calories. You might as well eat them.
Yeah, but a fermented, like a lacto-fermented soda, that's something I've always wanted to try out, and you can actually use maple syrup to make it. I've never done it before. I know friends who have, and I've tried it before. It tastes really good. So that's something I'm hoping we can do with this. Like just kind of make a tea, let it cool, and then use that liquid, that hot water extract, that tea of the pineapple weed, turn it into some tasty, maybe like pina colada type soda.
Ooh.
How sick would that be?
I like pina colada.
So we'll see. That won't be part of this video, the fermentation, but at least dehydrating, we're going to do that later if we find enough today. I also want to look for the golden currants, just check kind of where they're at, because they should be getting ripe now, or pretty close to it. In some states, I know it's June, but we checked a few weeks ago in our spot here and they weren't ready yet. They were just starting to grow. So beyond that, lamb's quarters, want to check how that's doing on this property, and maybe we'll run into some other good stuff, like some more burdock stalks. Some of those should still be around, and whatever else we'll find. So we're gonna jump cut here to us foraging in the field. So here we got our first nice bunch of pineapple weed. Very low growing to the ground. I think it doesn't really go beyond a foot ever. So you can rip some of this off, and these yellow little tops here are the most fragrant part of the pineapple weed, and it has a really pleasant smell when you rub it between your fingers, and none of the lookalikes will have that, so it's kind of a really easy plant to identify. The leaves also have the smell, but like I said, the tops here, the flowers, those are definitely the most powerful in flavor and smell. So here you can see a close-up of the pineapple weed. These heads will be green and yellow when they're ready to harvest. And actually, these little heads, they're made up of tiny little disc-shaped flowers that are almost impossible to really see unless you're looking real closely. And the leaves, as you can tell, they're very feathery. Pinnately dissect, I think they call it in botanical terms. That's what botanists call it. And the leaves will be branching alternately, so not opposite, but one will be here and the next one will be a little further up as they're coming up the flower stem here. I don't know if I want to harvest this spot here. It's kind of the best one I've seen, but you know, I feel like this is a prime little spot for dogs to pee on. I have mostly seen this on a trail, so I'm expecting a lot of people to walk over it, across it, dogs peeing on it. You know, that's obviously up to your own judgment if you want to harvest that or not. I'm going to see if we can get it on some spots on this trail where I think people aren't really stopping and dogs aren't really stopping as much. And just go from there. And then later, when we wash it, I'm going to put it into like, I'm thinking a vinegar or like baking soda solution to just kind of neutralize some of those chemicals that might be on them because of dog pee or people's shoes and stuff like that. I'm not too worried about it. Like if this were sprayed with pesticides, I'd be more worried. But you know, I feel like if a dog pees on here, within a few rain showers, it's going to be gone. But you never know. So we're going to keep going here in the trail, see if we can find some better harvestable pineapple weed. So people say bring scissors, but I just find you can pinch them off pretty easily. Now you could just pick these individually, these tops, but that would probably take you forever. It's like picking berries. So I'm just going to dehydrate them in bunches like this, and later we can then separate that fibrous stem from the leaves and tops. Lindy is going to try her first pineapple weed head. What do you think?
It's got like the air flavor of pineapple, but it feels like I'm eating a vegetable.
Yeah, like the one I just tried, it was pretty insane how much like pineapple it actually tasted. You know, I
don't know, like I don't think it tastes like pineapple, but the inside of my mouth smells like pineapple. You know what I mean? Like
try another one maybe. Mine was like really potent.
Oh, that one was more.
Yeah?
Yeah, that one tastes more like pineapple. The other one just had like I felt like I had pineapple sprayed into my mouth, but I wasn't like eating a pineapple. That one was better.
So this is probably a good point to talk about the mosquito repellent activities or abilities or compounds, I guess, that pineapple weed has. You can use an extract of pineapple weed to make like a spray and repel mosquitoes that way. There's actually a whole article about it on the USDA website, but they talk about how scientists studied the compounds in here, the chemical compounds in the pineapple weed, and it was as effective at repelling mosquitoes as DEET, which I thought was really, really cool. So another use for pineapple weed traditionally is a mosquito repellent. So we've tried a few now just off the ground here, freshly harvested, and some have more flavor than others. The first one I had, it was like really incredible how strongly it tasted like pineapple. And you know, I mentioned that we're gonna make tea out of this, but I think using some of that tea to then also make like gummy bears would be really, really good. And that's on the list of things to do for us. Make some like natural, healthy, really low carb gummy bears. All you really need, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, is like a tea extract, like a liquid, the gelatin, and then, you know, if you wanted to, some sort of sweetener. And there might be one or more other ingredients. Got to read a recipe again. Then you just get these molds, gummy bear molds. Put that in there and let it cool and harden, and then you can pop them out and you got gummy bears. Way better than any of those cheap ultra processed gummy bears you would get at the store. Some of them, if they're, you know, we can tell that they're kind of past their prime. They've dried out a bit already and the heads just don't look super fresh anymore. We've been trying to avoid gathering those. So if you're later in the year, I mean, we're kind of midsummer here in Montana now, so it's July, so we should be at the right time to harvest them, but I think maybe a week earlier or two from what we are now, they would have been a bit better. But we're still finding good ones, so just got to look around a little harder, I guess. They do like growing on trails and really rocky ground, so that's where you're going to find these mostly. And I've mostly found them on trails with like pebbles and stuff on them. So let's keep moving, see what else we can find, or if we can find some better spots. We found a great little patch here. Lots of fresh looking ones. And you know, I don't think there are any toxic lookalikes or poisonous lookalikes for pineapple weed. But of course, always do more of your own research when it comes to that. But as far as I know, there's nothing really to worry about. There are some lookalikes, but they're just not really palatable at all. So we're filling up our basket pretty well here, pretty good. And we're still in spot number 1. I'm gonna drop Lindy off in a bit here. Then I'm gonna go on to the next spot to get some more of these and checking all the other plants. So see you guys in a bit. All right, I am in spot number 2 now. I dropped Lindy off at home. She wasn't feeling too well. So let's see what we can find here. I already see a lot of pineapple weed on the trail around me. And I also want to check the lamb's quarters here quick and just look at the golden currants. So right here, we have a bunch of lamb's quarters. This is a really good edible that I like to harvest. It is in the amaranth family and one that a lot of people consider to be a weed. I'll do a separate video on them sometime. But if you're out on your walks or you're just curious, look up lamb's quarters if you don't know about it already. Definitely one that you should learn about as a forager. Here we have some really nice pineapple weed, taller plants. These heads in this spot look a lot fresher than in the other spot. I think it's because there's less sun getting to these here. So I'm gonna harvest some of these and fill up our basket. It's looking pretty good so far, but I want to have this thing full at the end of the day. Here's the plant that always looks like pineapple weed at first glance to me, especially if you're standing up and you're walking around. I think this is one of the lookalikes. I'm not sure what it is called exactly, but maybe one of you does, and please let us know in the comments below if you do. I think it's some sort of clover, so definitely don't eat that. This is kind of cool. I was just noticing this as I was walking on the trail, but we have a bunch of prickly pear cacti here that are flowering. Beautiful flowers. I haven't eaten these really yet, but I know they're edible. I want to experiment with them going forward. I've been trying really hard now to try to find some off trail, but no luck yet. As you can tell, I'm walking on a trail here right now and filming, and they just love to be right on the trail, right where everyone's walking. Kind of a bummer. So even though I did mention earlier that they're pretty easy to just clip off with your fingers, with most of them now, I've been noticing that scissors or a knife would be helpful, just because we've been pulling out a lot of roots. And they are annuals, and they reseed really fast, so I wouldn't worry too much about pulling them out. But still, you know, all I really want is the tops of these plants, so I'm going to use a knife here. Just seems like it's a lot more effective. This whole trail that I'm on here, probably for the next 100, 150 yards, is covered in some really nice pineapple weed. Unfortunately, most of it is pretty dried out already. Wish I would have been here a week earlier. But I'm just gonna get however much I can now. Fill up my basket here. And from there we're gonna go home and show you how I dehydrate these. I'm gonna do it, and it's the first time I'm doing it, but I've been doing some research into it, and it's super straightforward, and anyone can do this at home, even if you don't have a dehydrator, and I'll get into more of that in a bit here. Oh, hello there. Didn't see you were already here. No, a bird did not poop on my shoulder. I just drank some water and spilled some on me. How did I do this? How did I achieve this? That's a really good question. Anyway, we're back in the kitchen, in the Year of Plenty kitchen. I got my pineapple weed and it smells delicious. It's just so strong and smells and flavor and scent. What would you call that? There's a better word for that, but I'll leave that for true English speakers to decide. Now, as you can tell, I didn't quite get that heaping top on my basket that I was hoping for, but that's okay. That's okay. Now, we talked about a little bit at the very beginning, but we got these now off of trails, and people walk on trails and dogs walk on trails. So there could be some contamination with dog urine / just whatever is on people's shoes, but I am going to run this through a quick vinegar soak. So I got 1 part vinegar here and 3 parts water, and this is a good way to just, you know, clean some of that surface bacteria off your veggies. And from the research I was doing, this is what people recommend. If this were a pesticide concern, I would actually use baking soda, because baking soda is a lot better, according to some studies I've read, than vinegar in taking those pesticides off. But I'm not worried with pesticides here. I am a bit worried about this impacting the flavor because I have vinegar here, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. So we're gonna put it in there. Do it the fast way. Dump it all in. And I'm gonna give it a good 10 minutes soak in here. And once that is done, we're gonna pat it dry and put it in the dehydrator. So I'm just gonna give it a quick knead and rinse. And then I am gonna rinse it real well for a bit just to get the vinegar off, you know, whatever is left. All right. It's been 10 minutes. Our pineapple weed has been soaking in the vinegar. I did just want to show you real quick or talk about the pineapple weed. Something I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about de-IDing is that it is, I believe, related to chamomile. Might be wrong on that, but it is a chamomile-like flower or plant, and some call it, I think you call it false chamomile is like another common name for it. But unlike chamomile, it'll never get white petals. I mentioned earlier that these heads have tiny flowers on there that you can't even really see. So instead of having like the nice white petals that chamomile does, German chamomile, this does not. And it does have similar health effects or chemicals in there that have medicinal properties like chamomile. So it can be a bit of a sedative. It can be anti-inflammatory, and I guess can help like with stomach cramps and stuff like that. So all stuff you can do some of your own research into. We're just learning about this plant, and I have to do a lot more research on all that as well. But let's take our colander here, get this vinegar off, and rinse it real good so we don't have any more vinegar flavor in there. I might have to do this in batches just because I got to get a bigger colander. Strainer, colander, whatever you want to call it. Get some of that out. And now all I'm gonna do is rinse this. So to save you some time, we're gonna cut to the next part right now. Got all that pineapple weed here, rinsed off, drying it off real quick with a towel. Could use paper towel for that as well. Now this is of course not ideal when you're about to put into the dehydrator. Like ideally we wouldn't have to rinse these, right? Because now we're just making them more moist and we're trying to get the moisture out of them. But the moment of truth, let's see if these heads taste like vinegar now. I hope not. Nope, we're good. That worked out. I did not taste any vinegar in that one. So I'm just gonna quickly go through and check for any grass or any weird plant parts that got in here. Always make sure that you only have the plant that you actually want to have in there, especially when you're gonna go dehydrate it and use it for tea. Okay, that is looking good. I'm gonna have Lindy bring the camera over here so we can show you the next step. My dehydrator has some pretty big, like 1/2 inch, it looks like, chicken wire type crates. So I have these dehydrator safe liners that I can put on there that I like to use for, you know, making all sorts of things. Especially it's nice to do like fruit leather and stuff on there. You don't have to use these, or you don't have to use a dehydrator, I should say. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can honestly, if you pick them a little longer, you can just make little bunches like this, tie them off, and just let them hang in your pantry, in your kitchen, and dry like that. Or you could also get a table, spread them out in a big towel, and just let them air dry out of the sun. Don't really want a bunch of sun on there, because that can damage some of the plants, and I've heard that can destroy some of the nutrients. So can heat, which is why we're gonna do this in a very low setting over a long time. All right, temperature, we're gonna do 95, time 7 hours and 30 minutes. I'm just gonna do now. And then like I said, when I wake up in the morning, it'll be done. It might be ready, it might not be ready. So like I said, in that case, if it's not ready, I'm just gonna turn it on again, and then I can actually watch it and make sure it all goes well. So I'd rather do a little less now than do some more in the morning. Okay, until the morning, bye-bye. All right, it's a new day, and our pineapple weed is done dehydrating. To me, this looks like it's done. It's snapping really easy. Some of the flower heads are coming apart pretty quick or pretty easily. And it's still kind of green, which I think is fine. You know, you just kind of got to go by feel here. I think we had it in there now for, let me think, 7 plus probably like another 4, around like 11 to 12 hours on 95 degrees Fahrenheit. I am going to just put all this in a paper bag here, just because, you know, we have to go on vacation right now. We're about to head to the airport, and even if this didn't dehydrate fully enough, I'm gonna just keep it in a paper bag for another week. It can breathe there, it can dehydrate a little more, and it should be good to go from there then. Now, what you can do before you really later put it into your mason jar, wherever you're going to store this for tea purposes, is just clip all this stuff off these fat stems. You don't really need these fibrous stems in your tea unless you want that, but you know, I kind of like to just get basically just the dehydrated stuff and throw that into little tea bags then, or we have these Bombadillo straws that are great for loose leaf tea. So that's what we like to use. So like I said, For now, I'm just going to toss these in this paper bag and then let them dry in there for another week or so. There we go. That's looking good. From there, you can use this as tea. You can use it for all sorts of things, really. I mean, once you make it tea, I guess you can use it for all sorts of things. Get creative with it, you know. It does really taste amazing, and I just tried some after it was done dehydrating, and even after being dehydrated, it still has a really pleasant flavor, which is pretty cool. Thanks for watching.